In the quiet theater of space, discoveries rarely explode into view. They arrive as tiny blips, odd pulses in data, a light that lingers in the wrong spectrum. That's how this all began, with a faint, stubborn anomaly that refused to behave like anything astronomers expected. At first, it looked like another interstellar visitor, the kind the solar system sees from time to time. But this one was different. Larger, faster, and behaving in a way that betrayed intent. When the James Webb Space Telescope turned its infrared eye toward the object, what it saw changed the vocabulary of the people watching it. It wasn't simply a rock tumbling through the void. It moved with purpose. Its trajectory was hyperbolic, a one-way ticket through our system, but it didn't coast. It used gravity like a pilot uses wind, executing slingshot maneuvers with such precision it looked planned. Not random flybys, but a path that skimmed Mars, arced past Earth under the sun's glare, then bent toward Venus and Jupiter in a sequence optimized to observe each planet while minimizing human interference. Statisticians ran the numbers and found the odds of such a path being natural were vanishingly small. Size made it worse. Estimates put it between 6 and 9 miles across. Not a comet, not an asteroid, but an object the size of a city moving at speeds that mock our best engines. At that scale and velocity, anything natural would tear itself apart under its own forces. This thing stayed whole. It accelerated. It used planetary gravity with precision, and behind it trailed a glow that spectral analysis would later describe as neither gas nor dust, but focused, directed energy, a thermal exhaust patterned, pulsed, and symmetrical. Those pulses were the moment the language shifted from curiosity to alarm. Each burst cycled in a steady rhythm. Each left tiny measurable course corrections. The exhaust wasn't random venting. It behaved like steering, controlled, deliberate thrust. Then came a stranger detail. Embedded within that glow were elements and electromagnetic signatures not found in nature here on Earth. Materials with superconductive profiles, composites arranged in ways that suggested manufacture rather than geology. The team at Webb didn't announce this. Internal memos leaked. Scientists whispered. The data kept piling up. The exhaust pulses carried modulations, microscopic shifts in timing and amplitude that, when run through AI pattern recognition tools, showed encoded structure. Ratios and prime sequences, geometric harmonics embedded inside propulsion. Not a distress call aimed at us, but a carrier signal pointed away from Earth toward deep, empty regions of space. Some called it a log. Others, more alarmed, called it a beacon. Possibly an activation code meant for something beyond human reach. As the object swept through the system, anomalies began to ripple back home. Magnetometers across the globe lit with synchronized ultra-low frequency blips. Birds and marine animals changed migratory patterns in unison. Satellites in low orbit picked up faint echoes that looked like reflections from below, as if the planet itself had answered an unheard knock. Private arrays detected a thermal spike on the moon, concentrated over a mass cone beneath an ancient crater. Dormant seismometers recorded rhythmic pulses coinciding with exhaust bursts. The frequency matched. 11 seconds here, 19 seconds there. Patterns repeating across instruments and instruments repeating across continents. Then everything went silent. The exhaust stopped. Webb's scans showed the object cooled and quieted, but its velocity held steady, even increased. No wobble, no breakup, no sign of natural decay. If it had run out of fuel, it should have coasted or tumbled. Instead, it completed its sequence and entered a new, unreadable mode. At almost the same instant, the Voyager probes, relics drifting at the edge of our system, registered a subtle electromagnetic shift. A low bandwidth pulse aligned precisely with the moment the object fell silent. Not aimed at Earth, but sensed by tools both ancient and distant. When researchers dove into the finer details, even more unsettling patterns emerged. Webb detected gravitational lensing around the object that could not be justified by its visible mass. Light from distant stars arrived microseconds early, as if the fabric of space-time was bent or compressed locally. The distortion changed subtly whenever Earth sent directed signals, suggesting the field around the object was adaptive, responsive. Some theoretical models that matched the data invoked very exotic physics, localized space-time manipulation, transient micro wormholes, or technologies that fold space rather than push through it. In other words, not a spacecraft in conventional terms, but a machine that treats space like a medium to be shaped, a gate, perhaps, rather than a ship. If a propulsion system could bend space to slide forward without the expected reaction mass, then the limitations of Newtonian mechanics no longer bound its builders. Simulations that tried every known engine failed. The only concept that approximated the observations was something like vacuum field manipulation, a method that creates local pressure differentials in space-time to produce motion without exhaust in the traditional sense. If true, this would place the object's creators not decades but millennia ahead of us. Even more disturbing was the biochemical fingerprint hidden in the faint infrared emissions. Layered within the low-temperature glow were recursive molecular patterns that, when mapped against protein folding models, resembled a molecular language. Not words but geometry and sequences that could be read as encoding. Carbon lattices folding into structures that suggested organized, information-rich molecules, biological scaffolds or synthetic genetic material. The possibility arose that this object carried not just data, but seeds, complex molecular packages designed to survive interstellar travel and to interact with planetary environments when activated. The moon's burst of non-radio energy, the reactivation of long silent seismometers, the synchronized geomagnetic ripples across continents, together they suggested that the object had triggered something. An ancient protocol. A buried node? A system we never knew existed buried in the crust, waiting for a signal tuned to a frequency only such an object could emit. The idea moved from theory into chilling plausibility. Perhaps the object was not here to study us, but to awaken something that had been dormant for eons. Worse, evidence linked this sequence to previous anomalies. Years earlier, an interstellar visitor passed by, small, silent, and strangely unremarkable except for a fleeting electromagnetic echo. What had at the time seemed a ghostly oddity now looks like phase 1. The smaller object was the lock, inert and unreadable. This larger one may be the key. Together, they could form a protocol designed to unlock dormant systems or to initiate changes across a solar system. If that interpretation holds, then our bedtime story of first contact as a polite handshake or a clear signal is wrong. First contact might be a maneuver. First contact might be an awakening. The question that now hangs over everything is simple and terrifying. Who sent it and why? Was it reconnaissance, a sentinel following a scout? A seeding mission meant to spread life or engineered systems? Or a command intended for something already here? Something we cannot easily detect? The absence of greeting or outreach suggests indifference to human awareness. The silence is not passive, it feels intentional. We are left in a response window, not just observers, but participants in a sequence we may have triggered by the act of seeing. Instruments and models can only take us so far. Beyond them lies the unknown. Whatever lies behind the lens, whatever answers when the old nodes stir, whatever listens when a key turns in a mechanism no longer remembered. If this story ends with a revelation, it will not come with fanfare. It will come in pulses, in strains of encoded data, in shifts recorded by buried instruments and distant probes. It will come as a reordering of assumptions about our place in the cosmos. For now, we watch, we measure, and we prepare for the possibility that space is not empty, and that the quiet between the stars may hide long-armed things waiting for the right note to be played.